May is a month that separates full harvest from half-empty gardens. Miss this window and you are not recovering. You cannot plant your way out of a late start in summer. These 10 crops have one narrow window, and every single one of them has a reason it cannot wait. I am going to walk you through all 10. The planting, the feeding, the pest prevention, and the harvest that are waiting on the other side. Stay through the end, because the last crop I cover is not something you eat, and it might be the most important thing you put in the ground this entire month. Squash and melons will humble you fast. One warm week, a single vine borer moth, and a plant you have been tending for a month collapses overnight. Gone. But grown well, nothing in the summer garden produces with the same kind of abundance. And May, right now, is exactly the right moment to get them started. Direct seed them. Do not transplant. The root system on these plants is sensitive, and any disturbance sets a whole plant back in ways you will feel at harvest time. They are fast-growing and heavy-producing, so sowing after your last frost date still leaves you with more than enough season to work with. Rich soil loaded with compost before the seeds go in. Full sun. Consistent moisture from day one. These are heavy feeders, so a balanced organic liquid fertilizer on a 2-week schedule is not optional. It is the difference between plants that produce and plants that sputter. Now here is the thing that trips up even experienced growers. The squash vine borer. The moth lays a single egg on the stem near soil level. The larva hatches, burrows in, and starts eating the plant from the inside, severing it from water and nutrients until it collapses. By the time you see the damage, it is already done. Prevention only. Fine mesh netting over the entire bed immediately after sowing, kept on for most of the season. Or wrap the lower stem in aluminum foil from the first leaves down to the soil, then mound soil around it. Adjust the wrap as the stem thickens. Skip this step and you will be watching a healthy-looking plant die from the inside out with nothing you can do about it. For zucchini and summer squash, harvest at 8 inches. Any longer and the skin toughens, seeds develop, and the flavor goes flat. For melons and winter squash, watch for the skin to shift from glossy to matte. That is your signal. Press a thumbnail into the skin. No dent means it is ready. A cold cucumber pulled straight from the vine on a hot afternoon is one of those simple garden pleasures that reminds you why you do this. The flavor is nothing like what you find at the store. Once you have tasted yours, you will not go back. Cucumbers have a reputation for being fussy, but most of that comes from one mistake: planting them before conditions are right. They are heat lovers. Wait until 2 weeks past your last frost date for direct sowing, or start seeds indoors 4 to 6 weeks before that for an earlier crop. Full sun. Rich, moist soil. You cannot overdo the organic matter with cucumbers. They will use everything you give them. What they cannot handle is waterlogged ground, so drainage is to match your moisture levels. Feed every couple of weeks with a balanced organic fertilizer all season. Late-season cucumbers that run out of fuel turn bitter and tough. That is entirely preventable. Put them on a trellis. Off the ground, the fruit stays clean and away from soil pests. Air moves freely through the foliage. Disease pressure drops, and pollinators can find the flowers without effort. Cucumbers left to sprawl produce fruit you cannot find until it is too large and too far gone. Pick at 6 inches. Crisp. Flesh. Tender skin. Flavor at its peak. Push past that and you trade quality for size, and it is never worth it. Sweet potatoes are not related to regular potatoes. Regular potatoes are nightshades. Sweet potatoes belong to the morning glory family, and understanding that changes how you think about growing them. They vine. They spread. They need warmth above almost everything else, and they reward patience with one of the most satisfying harvests in the garden. They need a 6 to 8 week head start before your last frost date. That puts slip starting squarely in May for most climates. There is no time to wait. Start with an organic sweet potato. Conventionally grown ones are often treated with sprout inhibitors that stop the whole process before it begins. Dissolve 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C in 1 quart of water and soak the potato in that solution for 15 minutes. Nestle it lengthwise into a shallow container of potting mix, half buried, half exposed. Keep it moist, warm, and in front of sunny window. Sprouts will begin forming within a week or 2. Once slips reach 6 to 10 inches, separate them from the potato. Slips that came up from soil level often already have roots and can go straight into the garden. Slips from above the soil line can be cut and placed in a jar of water. Roots follow within 2 weeks. In the garden, full sun and warm soil are non-negotiable. Consistent moisture and good drainage. Once established, sweet potatoes largely take care of themselves. Yellowing leaves signal harvest time. Dig with your hands when possible. Tubers extend well over a foot from the plant, and a shovel will find them the wrong way. Wash, sun dry for a full day, then cure at 85 degrees or warmer for 10 days. After that, they store for months. Beans are the most forgiving crop on this list, and one of the most productive. Two growth habits mean two very different gardens can both grow them well. Bush beans are compact, 12 to 24 inches tall. No support needed, even workable in containers. Pole beans climb to 10 feet or more and need a trellis or teepee, but they stretch the harvest window longer and use vertical space that would otherwise go to waste. Both need the same foundation. Full sun, warm soil, consistent moisture, and organically rich ground. Do not transplant. Sow directly. Wait until frost danger is fully cleared before a single seed goes in. Here is what a lot of gardeners do not know. Beans need very little fertilizer. They are nitrogen fixers. They pull nitrogen from the air and store it in root nodules, drawing on it throughout the season. Heavy feeding pushes them toward leafy growth and away from pod production. Plant them in good soil and let them work. Harvest for fresh eating when the pods are 6 inches long and still flat, before the seeds inside start swelling. Those bumps forming along the pod mean tenderness is already declining. During peak production, harvesting every single day is not unusual. The plant keeps producing as long as you keep picking. Once pods mature fully on the vine, the plant considers its job complete and stops. Stay ahead of it. No crop earns more attention in the summer garden, and none rewards it more fully. The variety range is staggering. Hundreds of options in every shape, color, and flavor profile imaginable. And the difference between a tomato grown in your own soil and one picked green and shipped across the country is not a small one. It is a completely different experience. People who have disliked tomatoes their whole lives change their minds when they eat one they grew themselves. Start seeds indoors 4 to 6 weeks before your last frost date. Once frost danger clears, they are ready to go out. Full sun is essential, 6 hours at minimum, 8 or more is where they thrive. In climates where summer heat peaks extreme, afternoon shade cloth protects fruit set and keeps the plant from stressing through the worst of it. Rich, well-draining soil with compost worked in before planting. When you plant, go deep. Dig 8 to 10 inches and mix phosphorus-rich amendments, bone meal, rock phosphate, into the bottom of each hole. Add a nitrogen source, blood meal, kelp meal, crab, and lobster shell. Plant the tomato deep into that prepared hole. The buried stem develops roots along its entire length, which builds a stronger plant with better drought tolerance. Feed with liquid organic fertilizer on a 2-week cycle all season. Variety type determines how you manage the plants. Determine the tomatoes like Roma grow to a set height, fruit all at once, and finish. Indeterminate varieties, most heirlooms, most specialty types, grow and produce continuously until frost. That vigorous growth needs managing. Prune the suckers, the new shoots that push out from the junction where a leaf meets the main stem. Remove them. Keep the plant focused on the main stem and the fruit already developing. Train the main stem up a trellis and tie it in regularly as it climbs. Clear the lower leaf from the ground as the season moves forward. Ripening takes 6 to 8 weeks from fruit set. Do not rush it. When the color has fully developed, pick in the afternoon after holding water for a day or two. That concentrates the sugars and deepens the flavor. And never put a ripe tomato in the refrigerator. Cold kills the texture and strips the taste. Leave them on the counter and eat them within days. Basil pulls double duty in the summer garden. In the kitchen, the value is obvious. Out in the beds, it works as an active deterrent against one of the most damaging tomato pests you will face. The tomato hornworm starts as a moth, and that moth locates tomato plants through scent. Plant basil on the sunny side of your tomatoes, spaced roughly 12 inches apart, and the competing fragrance disrupts that navigation. The moths move on. No sprays, no traps, no interventions, just the right companion plant in the right location. Basil needs full sun. Do not let it flower. Once it blooms, the leaves turn bitter and the plant shifts its energy away from foliage. Keep pinching the tops. That delays flowering, encourages branching, and gives you a steady supply of fresh leaves all season. Cuttings placed in a jar of water root in about a week. New plants for free. 4 pollinators. Let a few varieties go to flower in different parts of the garden. Thai basil, holy basil, red leaf basil. Bees are strongly drawn to these blooms, and that activity benefits every flowering crop growing nearby. Peppers cover more culinary ground than almost any other crop in the garden. Sweet, mild, hot, blistering. The range is enormous, and the plants themselves are often beautiful. Colors shifting from green through yellow, orange, and red as they ripen. Some varieties carry variegated foliage that looks ornamental long before a single fruit appears. Worth knowing, peppers are perennials. In mild winter climates, they can stay in the ground and return the following year with a strong head start. In cold climates, bring them inside before frost and overwinter them indoors. Come spring, they break dormancy fast and skip the slow early season stage entirely. Start from seed indoors 6 to 8 weeks before your last frost date. A heat mat under the trays shortens germination time considerably. Hot varieties especially can take a long time to sprout without bottom heat. Do not transplant until nighttime temperatures hold reliably between 55 and 60 degrees. A cold snap after transplanting stalls peppers hard, and the recovery takes longer than most gardeners expect. Full sun. Some shade during the hottest part of the day in intense heat climates protects fruit from sun scald. A shovel full of compost in each planting hole. Complete organic fertilizer every 2 weeks. Space plants 12 to 18 inches apart. Stake them before the fruit load gets heavy. A fully loaded pepper plant tips without support. Harvest green for sharper flavor, or wait for full color change for sweetness and depth. Hot varieties intensify as they ripen. Both are worth growing. Growing corn at home and eating it within the hour of harvest changes your relationship with this vegetable permanently. The sugars in corn start converting to starch from the moment the ear leaves the stalk. Days of shipping and cold storage eat through that sweetness completely. Corn picked fresh and dropped straight into boiling water is something else entirely. Sweeter, more tender, more alive than anything sitting in a produce section. Corn does not transplant. Direct sow into rich, well-amended soil in a full sun location. 8 to 12 inches between seeds. Here is a detail that most first-time corn growers get wrong. Plant in a block, not a row. Corn is wind-pollinated. Pollen falls from the tassels at the top of the plant and needs to land on the silks at the top of each ear. A single row of corn lets the wind carry that pollen right past the silks. The result is poly-filled cobs, gaps, missing kernels, a disappointing harvest after months of work. A planting block, 4 by 8 feet, 8 by 8, whatever space allows, means pollen is landing on silks regardless of which direction the wind blows. This one detail is a difference between a full cob and a frustrating one. When the silks turn brown, pull back a section of husk and check the kernels. Full, tightly packed, and glossy is what you want. Press a thumbnail into one. White, milky liquid means it is ready. Clear liquid means it needs more time. Once ready, cook it the same day. Every hour it sits as sweetness you are losing. Okra is built for heat. Real heat, the kind that shuts other crops down. In climates where July and August are brutal, okra thrives. The flowers alone are worth growing for large, hibiscus-like blooms that open fresh each morning. From sowing to first harvest in 60 days or less. It takes up little space, demands little attention, and produces heavily once it gets going. Do not plant it early. Cold soil stores okra completely, and a cold stress plant is slow to recover. Wait until several weeks past your last frost date when the soil has fully warmed through. Late May hits that window for most climates. The timing is right now. Once established, the maintenance is simple. Water consistently, feed it through the season, and harvest constantly. Pods need to come off young, 3 to 4 inches, depending on variety. An okra pod left to grow large turns woody and fibrous and loses all kitchen value. Check the plants every single day during peak production. A pod left to mature on the vine signals a plant that its season's work is complete and production slows. Stay ahead of it. The 10th crop on this list is not something you eat, and it may be the single most strategically important thing you plant this month. Daisy-type flowers from the aster family do ecological work in the garden that no spray, amendment, or intervention can replicate. What looks like a single flower on a coneflower marigold, or cosmos is actually hundreds of tiny individual florets packed into one composite structure, each one carrying nectar. The whole thing is designed by evolution to attract pollinators and give them a stable platform to feed from. Plant enough of these through the garden, and you are building an ecosystem that actively works in your favor. Ladybugs, lacewings, hoverflies. These are the beneficial insects that hunt aphids and hold pest populations in check naturally. They are drawn powerfully to these flowers. Pollinators that feed on the move through every other flowering crop in the garden, improving fruit set on your tomatoes, cucumbers, squash, beans, and peppers. A garden with a strong beneficial insect population is a garden that largely manages its own pest pressure. Good choices include coneflower, Shasta daisy, sunflower, calendula, cosmos, marigolds, and zinnias. Scatter them through the beds. Tuck them into the borders. Plant them wherever room exists. They are easy to establish. They bloom for months, and the work they do quietly in the background is worth more than most gardeners ever realize. 10 crops. 1 month. A planting window that closes whether you move or not. The gardeners who finish the season with full harvest, the ones eating tomatoes in August, pulling sweet potatoes in October, grilling corn the same hour they picked it. They are not the ones who knew the most. They are the ones who acted when the timing was right. That window is right now. If you are not subscribed to the Yield Vault yet, you are already behind on what needs to happen in your garden this week. Every single week on this channel, you get exactly what to plant, what to protect, and what to harvest. Time to the season. No fluff, no filler. The growers in this community are not guessing. They are moving with a plan. And if you wait until next week to subscribe, next week's video is already going to assume you caught this one. Hit subscribe. Hit the bell. If this video gave you one thing you needed, one crop you are planting because of it, drop it in the comments. I read every single one. The next video goes up soon, and if you thought May was important, wait until you see what June demands. We will see you in the next one.